Welcome back, podcast fans. I'm your host, Annette, and this is Parenting Impossible, the special needs survival podcast. And today, I'm so excited to have Julie. Oh my gosh, Julie Foge.
I know it doesn't look like it should be pronounced that way. So
You're not. I'm sorry. I always ask people, how do I pronounce your name? Because even the simplest names, you never know. You say Smith, and somebody's like, nope, it's mine. Okay, I got that wrong. And I was so excited to talk to Julie today that I forgot to ask her before we got on the show. Thank you, Julie, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited and glad to be here.
So, Julie, I told you when we first started chatting before I hit the record button that I got Jill looking through your materials to get ready for the show. I'm an over preparer, so I look at everything. And Julie's got an amazing website called Leaning Into Love. And there are so many great things about this website and about all that she offers to parents and caregivers. But I have to say, the first thing that struck me was just that although our kids were born like 20 years apart, we're on a very similar track. We're both rare moms, which is awesome. Our kids have rare diseases. We both had kids that spent time in the NICU, significant time in the NICU, and had a lot of hospitalizations in the early days. And I just found out that her mom lives with her and helps out and basically moved in to help her right in the beginning. Same thing with me. My mom lived with us for 20 years to help me raise my kids because it is almost impossible, but we do it, don't we? And so, Julie, tell me about your tagline, about your safe space. Tell me.
Yeah. Okay. So Leaning Into Love is really a labor of love. And it is everything that I wished I had when I was in those early days, landing in the NICU and then getting that rare diagnosis and not knowing how to navigate that piece. But the tagline is really a safe place to land and a strong place to launch. And that is my goal for it. I really want parents and caregivers and even community and friend members who love this mom or love this child and want to support her well. I really want to offer them a space where they feel seen and heard and understood in whatever season they're in this journey, because as you know, it really evolves depending on where you are. And at the beginning stage, especially, it's just absolutely overwhelming. So I want to offer that safety, but then I also just really care about making sure that parents in particular have a voice and that they are equipped with the tools and the resources that they need to feel like they can advocate effectively and care for themselves and their child and their bigger family well.
You said one of your earliest feelings was about a wish for your daughter, Eliza. Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah. This is a very vulnerable share, and I'm happy to do it because in speaking with other parents who are really in it, I feel like when I share this piece about my early feelings, that's when there's this release because shame grows in the dark. And when we can bring it to the light, I feel like that's where real healing happens. So say one of my earliest feelings in the NICU, which we were not planning on, ever being admitted to, was wish that I could rewind time 9 months and just erase this piece, just not have this be our experience. And I say that and want to just share that even saying that right now stings because it sounds like I wished that Eliza wasn't alive. And my biggest fear was really that something would happen to her and she wasn't going to make it past the NICU. But I didn't want this for her. I didn't want this for our family. I felt so isolated and so desperately sad that I remember having feelings like, I am never going to be happy again. And what is this going to mean for her older sister? And what is this, can we ever do things as a family? And Eliza's diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome in particular, when we received that, it was like the floor just dropped out all over again because it's really a lifelong diagnosis. And right now, the way treatment stands, individuals with PWS can never live independently. So, we talk about becoming a parent is life-changing, but becoming a parent of a child with special needs is life-altering. And I did not feel prepared for that. That just terrified me to no end. And I wished that I could have just rewound and erased this this whole chapter, like have a do-over. And I will say now, she's 9.5 years old, and I could not imagine life without her. She is such a joy, and she is so happy. And I want to say, for anyone who is in that space of feeling like there's never going to be lightness again, hold on. No feeling is final. It's not always going to feel that way, but I think it's important to name that it can, and it often does. And the shame I felt around those feelings was just monumental. I couldn't even utter those words to my husband. I couldn't even pray those words because I just felt so ashamed. I felt like such a bad mom. And I think sometimes when people offer words of encouragement, like God only gives special kids to special parents, or
Oh,
God never gives you more than you can handle, it's coming from such a sweet place. But it felt like I was an imposter in that because I did not feel like a special parent, and I did not want to have this
right.
is something that I handled. So, yeah, that was kind of one of my very earliest feelings that I really struggled with, and it just made that isolation bigger.
Were you able to talk with your husband about these feelings at all, or anybody in your family?
Not for a very long time, no. When we were in the NICU, I feel like we were in survival mode, and we were
Mhm.
both carrying so much grief and fear that even speaking those things out loud to one another felt like it made it more real. And I was worried that I was burdening him with something that he hadn't thought about or felt. But it's something that, as I've gone to the other side of, and
Mhm.
again, recognize that it's a really common thing, I wished I had felt safe enough to share that with safe people. And he certainly would have been one of them.
Mhm. And your advice to other parents going through this would be to talk it out.
Yeah, to talk it out, or if you don't feel safe to talk it out yet, just to know that you're not alone in that, that
Mm.
it doesn't make you a bad mom. It doesn't mean you don't love and adore your child deeply. It's a feeling, and it's a fear, and it comes from fear. But when it transforms into shame, that becomes really crippling. So anything you can do to sort of, like I said, bring it to the light is where the healing is going to start.
I loved how you said, you had your favorite dream team, but you didn't get angry at, you know, other people when they weren't there. You would just strategize, and if you could wait, you would wait to ask questions from people you felt more aligned with. I think that's a great tip. Um, so talk a little bit about decision fatigue and overwhelm.
Yeah.
I mean, because you
Oh,
are asked to make 1,000 decisions a day in some cases, in some circumstances, and it can really be tough. And you don't wanna always say, "Okay, well, what would you do? What do you think?" You really do have to be able to sift through the information quickly. So, what are your tips for parents in that situation?
well, I'll start by saying I think one of the most important things to recognize is that because parents are faced with so much decision fatigue within that medical sort of experience, it's so important that the community around them can support them well. Like, take away, I can't tell you how many times, and you know this too, you get texts like, I'm thinking of you. How is Eliza? What can I do for you? And that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what I needed. So, one of the things I've done on my website is really provide a list of things that parents who are in a medical crisis can send to family members or friends that are reaching out with that question, or that those people can directly go and find practical ways that they can really support this family. So I think that when you take a lot of those things out of play, it allows the parents to focus better on what it is that they need to do within the hospital or within the next decision there. And I think with that in mind, a lot of the decision fatigue for us was, do we need to decide this right now? I think that's an important first question, because if it doesn't have to be decided right at that moment, you can have a chance to talk about it and process it. And oftentimes they don't need the decision right at that very moment. But I think that's
Right.
one thing that's really helpful. I think it's also really helpful to ask and for medical providers to give resources of where you can learn more so that you know what questions even to ask or that are relevant to what you're going through in that moment. So, Google can be a real bear. You know, it's like not where you want to go, but it's of course where everybody goes first. So are
Right,
there
right.
safe sites? Are there safe resources that you can go to learn more so that you can make an informed decision?